on the Facebook side. I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome to the six-figure grant writing class. I am super excited about this class for so many reasons. One of the main reasons being that it is grant season. So this is the perfect time to really understand the grant writing process and the necessary steps to secure those grants. So I am excited for everyone who is taking the time out today to join in with us and learn all about grant writing. So like I said in the chat, if you would like to, like I said, just leave your name, the city and state that you are from. If you can also leave your business name, if you want to leave your website, and most importantly, let us know if you are for profit or if you are nonprofit. That would be great, because I want to make sure that you guys are getting exactly what it is that you came in the room to get tonight. Okay, so if you don't know me and if you just got acquainted with me or you just scrolled past my page and something said, hey, let me see what this girl is talking about. My name is Bianca Marie, and I am the proud founder of Motivated and Empowered Inc. We are a 501c3 organization. We have been around for 12 years now. We started in Nashville, Tennessee, and flourished back home to where I'm from, to Cleveland, Ohio. And in that process, I have started two other businesses. I have started Purpose Consulting, which is my consulting side, where I help business owners scale their business to 6-7 figures, create proper formatting and all those great things, along with the Bianca Marie Agency, where I help people grant write and create the firm, big vision that God has for you and give you the tools to reach that. I love working with nonprofits and for-profits, but most importantly, nonprofits. If you guys don't know, my heart is for nonprofits, but also for Christian CEOs. I'm an author. I am the author of Broken to Grace. I'm also the author of I'm Just a Girl and I Like It. And also, Girl, Clean Out Your Closet. I also have prayer journals and all these amazing things for women. And I'm so excited that God has connected us tonight. So we are not going to waste any more time. I am going to give you guys some housekeeping rules, right? So the first thing first is drop your name, the city, state that you're from, your business name, and if you're a for-profit or a nonprofit. The second thing is that, right, my coach, my mentor, when we are in the room together and we are learning together, guess what she always have us do? Turn on your cameras. Let me see your beautiful faces. Not only does it help me to be able to speak and see you guys, but it helps you, and it's still another form of communication, right? So I don't know, you may have your bonnets on or have your headscarf on, but listen, sis, we are all in this together. I understand. I'm not mad at you. Just turn on your cameras and show up and show out. So if you guys have not been a part of one of my grant writing class, I previously did a class called the Mini Grant Writing Course. And that course was very, very basic. We went over some of the very firm foundations that is absolutely necessary for you to begin to write grants. We talked about the checklist of things that you need in order for your organization to be able to have a strong foundation and begin to win the grant money, okay? So we're gonna breeze through that because I want to get into the actual meat of grant writing and give you all the things that you really, really, really need, okay? So the checklist, if you are for-profit or nonprofit, the biggest things that I tell people all the time, that when you begin to look at grant writing and how to win those grants, it's a few concepts and questions that need to be addressed first, okay? Number one is you have to choose a program or a service that you offer that is going to gain the most interest, Okay. Now, if you're like me, we got a lot of things, especially in our service-based businesses. We're doing a lot of stuff, or even in our nonprofits, we have a lot of programs that we offer. But we need to hone in on the grant writing when we begin to what programming is going to speak to people's heart and what is going to be their focus of funding. Okay. So here's a little tip and trick that I'm going to give you right off the gate is that a lot of funders have funding focuses each year, okay? That means that they're focused on funding a certain area. It can be that they're focused on women empowerment, women endowment. It can be youth who are runaways or youth who are foster care, but they all have a focus each round that they open their grants up. I want to teach you the keys of how to find that a little later, okay? So you need to find a program, hone in on it, and what I like to tell my clients all the time is make sure that the program or the service that you're writing this grant for is a good fit and not you growing an extra foot. What are you talking about, Bianca? Okay, listen, a lot of times we will create a program or something in order to fit the grant. But now we're creating more work for ourselves, you guys. When we can just pull some key concepts out of the program that we have and make it fit into that, instead of trying to create something totally new because we want to get this money. And a lot of times they begin to research that. They can tell, they can see, it's like they can sniff it out that you do not have this program up and running, it has not been tested, or it's not a service that you already offer. And guess what they're not trying to do? They're not going to try to fund it. Okay. Number two is when you begin to write your proposals, you have to begin with the end in mind. What do I mean by that is that many times we really want to tell our story, right? We want to tell them why we started the nonprofit or the struggles we have had inside of our for-profits and how COVID really just knocked us on our behind. And we forget to tell them what the end is. Funders are not concerned about what happened yesterday. They're worried about what you're going to do tomorrow. They're worried about what impact you're going to have so they can say they contributed to it. I know that is so arrogant and so egotistical, but it's the reality. They want to see their name on something that said, hey, we helped feed 152 children who were impacted by COVID, right? But the end result was that you fed 152 children. So start with the end mind end result. The third thing is that 70% of your time for this grant should focus on program planning. It needs to focus on program planning, okay? So if you don't know what program planning is going to be your problem statement. It's going to be your goals and objectives. It's going to be your strategies. It's going to be your evaluations, and it's going to be your budget, okay? For those entering the room, I just want to say hi. We dropped some housekeeping rules. I'm just asking everyone if you guys can turn on your cameras for me so it don't make me feel like I'm talking to myself. And I would greatly appreciate that. So 70% of your time should be on planning. Problem statements. We're going to talk about what a problem statement is. Goals and objectives, strategies, evaluations, and budgets. The other 30% is going to be focused on the organizational background. So that is going to be your background statement, your organizational history, or your business history. It's going to be your proposal summary, and it's going to be your proposal submission. Fourthly is these things that needs to be considered and talked about upfront is that you need to create a logic model that is going to provide a visual illustration of the flow of activities that will produce the desired result by your organization and your business. What do I mean by that? It means that they need to be able to see your vision come to life through your words. So if you're not great with writing, guess what? You need to hire someone who can tell that story. You need to be able to capture the reader in the first 3 sentences, right? If I send in a grant proposal and the grant proposal says something like, okay, my organization is motivated and empowered, and my organization is focused on helping girls that's 13 through 17, and I'm looking for a grant that's going to help me establish that. Are you going to continue to read? No. You're going to be like, girl, Bob, we got 105 people to serve 13 to 17. I ain't got time to listen to this, right? But if I started this and say, close your eyes and imagine a girl who is homeless, cold in the winter months, who's looking for a place to go, who has been counted out by society. And I can say that this year we are helping 105 of those girls get homes, food, and schooling that will change their tomorrow and their destiny. And we just need for you to donate $50,000 to us. Would you continue to read? Because you want to know, wait a minute, why is she homeless from the beginning? Why is she hungry? And how are you going to get them some home, some food, and going to change their destiny, right? So now you're a little bit more intrigued to figure out what my steps is. What's my goals, what's my objectives, and what do my programming look like that's going to ensure that I'm going to create this success. The next thing, even on the for-profit side, is to say, okay, I have a business and I own a hair salon, and I need a grant for $5,000 because I want to open up a salon. I don't want to read that because there's 1,000 people who are hair salons that want a salon. That's what you want when you're a hairstylist, right? But if I can say, imagine a woman who has been scarred by the words that people say because the look on her face or how her hair look, or because of the scars on her face from traumatic experiences she may have faced. My focus is to begin to allow women to identify the beauty in themselves again by creating services that focus on hair, makeup, and maybe, I don't know, esthetician, whatever, right? Now you're like, oh my God, you know, a lot of times these people who are sitting on the reading side of the grant are people who have their own business or have their own organization, and they have a heart as well. So now you have spoke to their heart and they're intrigued and want to continue to learn what it is that you have to offer. All right. So those are the little 4 trips and tips that really needs to be focused when you're sitting down and you're like, okay, I'm about to write this grant. You need to have this stuff already, like, okay, I need this stuff. I got the end in mind. I need to create a visual concept of what's going to happen. I need to really make sure that these key concepts is done. Let's get to writing. Now, here we are, and we are beginning to write. And what is the first step? It is developing a relationship with the funders. Don't you submit no grant and you have not spoken to anyone from that organization. That is a no. Absolutely. Okay. So a lot of times people see grants and they just go right. They haven't spoken to anyone. They haven't read their mission statements. They haven't read what they funded in the past. None of those things. And this type of work, you have to know the people and their focus so that you can grab their attention. So ways that I tell people all the time to get to know the funders is normally there's an email that is attached to RFPs. Email that person, ask, can you set up a phone call? This is where you're going to get all the information that you need to win this grant. They like to talk. They're going to tell you, okay, you need to make sure you have this, and this is our funding focus this year. We're really focusing on basic needs for pregnant mothers, you know, and it's here in this place that you're going to be able to get everything. You can ask them questions. So what typically does it look like for funding? They'll tell you, well, if you've never been funded by us before, right? We typically doesn't fund the full amount, but we typically try to meet everything. And, you know, we try to make sure everyone is funded, but these are the key concepts. They're going to tell you what it is. So if you're not reaching out to them by email or phone, then you have already lost the grant, period. I have never won a grant that I did not take the time to introduce myself or my client to them first, okay? Period. The second thing is that while you're inside of these meetings with them, you want to understand their culture, okay? Because now you have to change your language. Now, listen, I can talk to the man on the corner, or I can sit inside of the president's office and I can talk to him, right? because I have to adjust to the culture that they are teaching me, right? So I cannot write a grant and say, you know, I'm trying to really focus on feeding 105 people who are homeless, blah, 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 if that's not their culture. We know we have some uppity funders. We know that we are dealing with some funders who are, you know, still coming around the curve of the racial demographics, and we have to sometimes adapt to their culture and speak to their language. And sometimes you have to be very clear. I wrote a grant for, let me see how much this grant was for. This grant was for $100,000, and the funder was an all-white organization. It was actually an organization that was funded by their children, the parents' children. They had passed away, and they had a fund in honor of their parents. So they really were just now scratching the surface on systematic racism. So I had to be very clear. I had to say very clearly, this grant is focused on the fact that the Black and Brown community have been faced with systematic racism for over 250 years, and we're just now becoming to a place where we're on an even playing field. And in order for us to continue to be successful and continue to break the glass ceilings, we need this fund to do so, right? And when they called me and they gave me the grant, the lady was very shocked that I was very straightforward. And she said, how did you know this was our funding focus? And I said, because I read stuff on your website and blah, 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 and I met with such and such, and they understood that we had these questions and concerns for the organization, all right? So for these people who are just coming in, I'm still asking you guys to please turn on your cameras, pretty please, to show up and allow me to be able to see you guys so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Leave your name, the city and state that you're in. And if you have a nonprofit, for-profit, you can also leave your website, okay? So you wanna develop that relationship with the funders. We wanna do introductions, phone calls, and another way that you can introduce yourself into the organization, even if it's not a grant that's open, but you really want to be funded by them eventually, is do letter of interest, which is the LOIs, or letter of intent. Some grants require that up front anyway, okay? Some grants don't, but it's still a great way to say, hey, I know you're not funding right now, but my organization really aligns with your mission and we really could use your support. This is what we need. This is how it's going to impact us. Can you put us on the list? Can you meet with us? Can you allow us to know when the grant is going to open so that we can apply for it? All right. After you have contacted these funders, you have started to build a relationship with these funders. The next thing I tell people is that you need to focus clearly on your problem statement. Your problem statement is, why do you need this grant? Okay. Sometimes problem statements have different names. They're called statements of need, funding focus. Like it's a lot of synonyms that they're using for this. But this is very, very important because your problem statement is the key element. And it is the call, it is the answer that you need. Hey, I really, really need this, and I'm addressing this straightforward, okay? We're not beating around the bush for this. We stating the problem straight out the gate. The problem is, I need a building and I'm broke, okay? And I need you to help me get that money. You're gonna say it nice here, but that is what you're going to say. You're going to then, inside of the problem statement, we're gonna talk about the content that needs to be addressed. So if you don't have pencil and paper, I'm going to encourage you to get some. Is that some of the basic rules to follow when developing the proposal problem statement is, one, the need being addressed is the statement should have a clear relationship to the organization's mission and purpose. Your purpose needs to be clearly aligned to their purpose. No mishaps whatsoever. If they at any point do not align to what it is that you're doing, the grant is not for you. Move on, okay? Number two, the problem statement should focus squarely on those communities the organization serves, their needs, rather than the organizational needs. What do I mean? Don't tell them what you need. You tell them what your clients or your community or your audience needs. This is what they're funding. They're not funding you, they're funding the needs that you're meeting. So what are the needs that you need? Okay, if you're a nonprofit, say we're going to use Ms. Lattimore, okay, she's one of my clients. We're going to use you. If you are writing a grant and you know that you have this nonprofit, right? And what's the need that you're meeting? The need is that I am decreasing the homeless rate because I'm giving these children who are aging out of foster care housing that's going to create independent living skills so they can become a product of society and not have to worry about being homeless. Think about teen pregnancy, thinking about the arrest rate going up. Like, you're going to pull out all these different things that this one thing is going to impact. Say you are a for-profit and you have a clothing boutique, right? You are creating affordable clothing that is going to be able to sustain families through a time where we are dealing with a inflation, right? So you know that there are some people who charge $199 for a jacket, and you know you charge $59.99. You are still creating affordable clothing because there's other people who charge more than you. You need to point that out inside of that problem statement. The next thing is that you need to have evidence. This is where research is very, very, very important. If you are not researching, you are not impacting. Understand, you need to have key facts. You need to know numbers, percentages. You need to know everything about your target audience. How many people struggle every year to afford clothing? How many people spend money on name brand clothing? You need to know those things. How many kids are really homeless? How many children are facing suicide rate? You need to know those numbers. The next thing is that you need to be able to connect the need in the proposal with the organization's ability to meet that need. What do I mean? Cleveland Foundation has over $5.4 billion, right? I'm asking you for 25,000. You are absolutely able to take 2%, not even that, to make a difference in a child's life who's hungry, homeless, and needs some clothing this winter. There is no reason why you can't, right? You say it nicer, but that's the mentality that you're writing this in. You absolutely can meet this need because you have the means to do so. You have funded over 350 different organizations during the pandemic who are serving less clients than I am, and we need your help. There goes your answer. All right, so those are some of the key things that you want to make sure that when you're writing that problem statement, it is in there. If you don't have those things in there, they already put your application down. All right, the next focus that's very important is defining clear goals and objectives. I think this is probably my biggest pet peeve, when people don't know what their goals is and their objectives are. They're two different things. They're very important. Whether you have a nonprofit or a for-profit, you need to have goals and objectives. And under that definition of goals and objectives, sometimes can be confusing. I'll give you that. But it's important to keep in mind that goals are what the program aspires to achieve, and objectives should clarify what change you expect to see as a result of the work. Don't confuse the organization's mission, which is ongoing reason for your existence, with the organizational goals. They are not the same thing. We are focusing on changing girls ages 13 and 18 to be an asset to their community. That's my mission. But my goal is to see higher high school graduation rates, higher college entrance rates, lower teen pregnancy rates, less suicide. Those are my goals, right? So because if I reach these goals, then I know my mission is going to come to pass. Many grant seekers, they try to break down their objectives into smaller pieces, such as activities, outcomes, all those great things. Other terms that you need to be very clear in writing this is activities, outcomes, outputs, and measures, okay? You need to answer all 4 of these when answering what your objective is. Activities is the work that the organization will undertake in order to achieve the goals. Outcomes, sometimes used as objectives, is what we will have changed as a result. Output is the material or other products the grant seeker program will produce, such as a training video or something to that nature. And then measures of success, sometimes called benchmarks, is how the organization will know it has achieved its objectives, okay? These are very key. You need to have this inside of your proposal. Problem statement, goals, objectives, activities, outcomes, measures, okay? We're going to talk about it just a little bit more in depth, but this is what is the meat of your proposal. This should be, if it's a written, like typed out grant, probably about a page to a page and a half. If it's an online grant submission, it needs to be a good solid paragraph, but it needs to be very boom, 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 boom. No fluff, no filler words. It needs to be straight out, okay? All right. The next thing is that your strategies, okay? Your strategies is going to be, how are you doing the work? Everybody's strategy is different, right? So some people say, I'm feeding the homeless, that's how I make an impact. Some people said, I'm teaching them how to grocery shop, how to budget, and how to cook. That's how I'm making the impact, right? Some people are saying, I'm teaching people how to maintain their beauty, doing their hair as a beautician, and I'm helping them be able to feel good about themselves, to increase their confidence, which is going to increase them being able to show up for work in a different manner, interact with their family in a different manner, right? Because confidence changes all those things. So whether you're in for-profit or nonprofit, the strategies to how you're going to do that is still the same. It's very important that you address it, and you need to be very clear about it. A lot of this time, this is where we talked about programming and ensuring that the program lines up with their mission. This is where that part comes in, okay? The next key and biggest part that's going to drive the yes for you is evaluations. How do we know that you reached your goal? How do you know? How do they know? What are you doing? Don't just tell me y'all doing surveys, okay? I'm so tired of, I've been reading grants lately for one of the clients that we have, and we are funding almost 100K for this organization that we choose. And these people, oh, I just got a survey. Honey, that's not good enough for us. I'm giving you $100,000 and you're telling me that all you got is some surveys to tell me a yes or no. How many of y'all take surveys and evaluations seriously? Are y'all just like, I like her, so I'm just gonna go down like yes, 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 or yeah, it made an impact, right? So don't do that. Was the program successful? Question number 1. Number 2, did it do what it was designed to do? Did it really change their lives? Did it really make impact? Did you having this building really increase your clients that you were able to serve? Did it do that? What did the organization learn from this experience that can be leveraged? Even don't act like you're perfect in this evaluation phase. You're not. No one is. Be very honest. Look, I learned last time with my funding that I messed up, okay? I did not serve these people right, and this money is going to ensure that I can hire the staff that I need so that I'm not driven or I'm not losing my mind, and our impact can be greater. Be very honest with them. They appreciate it. What didn't work? What didn't work, and why? Why didn't it work the last time, and why do you need this money this time so that you can ensure that it's going to work? And lastly, what's the difference in the community or the lives of those targeted will be changed? What is the result? What does that person look like after they have encountered your program or your service? What does it look like? All right. Now we're going to jump over to clearly the last part. This is really the big part, and that is your budgets. You need to have organizational budgets, operational budgets, service budgets. Please, please stop thinking that organizational budget just covers everything, okay? Every program, every service that you have should absolutely have its own budget, not just for grant writing, but just because you need to know if you're reaching your goals and how you spending your money. Okay, if you don't have a budget for everything, I have a budget for services, I have a budget for even the programs that I use. I know every month that for Purpose Consulting, B. Marie, I have a budget of $500 that I can spend on all my tech stuff. If I surpass that, guess what it's gonna come from? It's gonna come from some other thing, or it's gonna come out of my pocket, and I ain't got that, right? Or my payroll, or something to that nature. So budgets are very essential, and they're going to look at that. They're going to look at budgets because budgets are going to tell them who else is even interested in funding you. Why should I give you $100,000 and Pepsi gonna give you 25? Okay. So we need to be very clear on that. We need to be very clear on our budget. It needs to be very detailed. You also need to have audits, have financial audits. Please stop sending bank statements in, okay? Because let me tell you how bank statements trap y'all up. They see y'all stopped at BP. They see y'all stopped at the liquor store. They see y'all got your hair did, and y'all talk about give me some grant money. They like, why should go get your hair did, girl? Even if that's what you're gonna do with it. But they don't need to know that, right? Because you need to get an audit. You need to have an audit. You need to have an audit. You need to have your budgets. And lastly, you need to have financial forecast. Financial forecast. If you do not have financial forecast, not only in grant writing, you are doing your business an absolute disservice. Financial forecast is very tricky. It's very expanded. It's focused on the 3, 5, 7-year marks. Every service, every program is lined out what it looks like, every cost that you have, everything. Literally, my service costs $25. It takes $4.52 for me to buy the products to do this service. My profit here, my losses here, my revenue is here. Last year, I was in a negative. This year, I'm in the green. This is where the green, red, and blacks come in, okay? Green, you made a profit. Red, you were negative. Black, you broke even, okay? That's where you see those things full and clear. So let me see. Trying to give y'all all the videos before we leave out of here. How to find grants. These are the key things I want to give you guys. How to find grants. You need to have grants.gov. Grants.gov. You can use grants.gov as nonprofits and for-profits, okay? You do not have to be a nonprofit to get federal grants. They break them down into who qualifies for them. They even have some for people who don't have a business license. You can still file for a grant. Grants.gov is going to save your life. You also need to look on your county and state websites. You also need to look on colleges' websites because colleges offer grants. You need to look on every major corporation community sustainability tab. You will find how they impact and how they service and either do grants or sponsorships, okay? So that is where you're going to find those grants. You can also look on things like ifund.com. And there's a few others, but those are really the main ones that is going to give you the big money. Look on your community foundations if you're a nonprofit. Every state, every city has their own community foundation. And lastly, if you're a nonprofit, you need to be on Candid, which used to be the Foundation Center. They moved over to Candid. And it's also, you need to be registered on there because nobody will fund you if you're not registered with GuideStar, period, okay? Candid and GuideStar is hand in hand for those who don't know. All right, so I am excited that I was able to share all of that. You should literally know how to write a grant now. This is really what I tell people. It's the easiest thing, but it's the hardest thing because there's a lot of research. All of this has to come from you really knowing your business, your client, and the research. That is all grant writing is. I am going to continue to provide grant writing and all those great things but I want to begin to teach. I am a big believer that if you teach people how to do something, you change their lives forever. Versus me enabling you and me doing, of course, I make money from it, but what good is that, right? If I can teach you how to do it,